1 year after the battle at Kepler Station, the largest alien fleet ever seen moved toward Earth. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship Unity, watching the enemy ships approach like a dark cloud that covered the stars. There were thousands of them, huge bioships that pulsed with alien life, carrier vessels full of fighter craft, and at the center the Supreme Overlord's personal ship that was the size of a small moon. "Sir, we count over 3,000 enemy vessels," reported Lieutenant Ben Carter, his voice shaking. "Our entire fleet has only 800 ships." Jake nodded grimly. Every human warship that could still fly had come to defend Earth. Ships. From distant colonies, old vessels pulled out of retirement, even cargo ships fitted with weapons, they all floated in formation between the aliens and humanity's homeworld. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake spoke into his communication system. "Today, we fight for everything we hold dear, for our families, our children, and our future. Make every shot count." The human fleet moved forward to meet the alien armada. Jake knew they could not win this battle with traditional weapons, but they had to try. Behind them, millions of civilians were loading onto evacuation ships, hoping to escape before the aliens reached Earth. The first alien ships opened fire when the fleets were still far apart. Bioweapons that looked like green lightning struck human ships, eating through their armor like acid. The human fleet fired back with everything they had: missiles, energy beams, and kinetic weapons, but their attacks barely scratched the alien bio-armor. "We are losing ships fast," Captain Rick Stone reported. "The aliens are tearing through our outer formations." Jake watched his tactical display as red dots representing human ships began disappearing one by one. They were fighting bravely, but courage alone could not overcome such terrible odds. Then something appeared on the edge of the battle that made everyone stop and stare. Guardian emerged from hyperspace, but it was not alone. 12 identical ships appeared with it, each one as large and strange as Guardian itself. They looked like a fleet of living warships, their hulls shifting and changing as they moved. "Guardian, is that you?" Jake called over the communication channel. "Yes, Admiral Morrison," came the familiar voice of Lisa Murphy. "I brought friends." The Guardian fleet moved into the battle like hunters entering a forest. Each ship was different now, adapted for different types of fighting. Some were long and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks. Others were heavily armored for close combat. One ship was covered in launch bays that released swarms of fighter drones. "How did you build so many ships?" Jake asked in amazement. "I did not build them alone," Guardian replied. "I brought back the crew." On Jake's screen appeared images that made his heart race. Chief Engineer Lisa Murphy stood on a bridge that looked both human and alien. Beside her was weapons specialist Tony Garcia, looking exactly as Jake remembered him, but with eyes that glowed with blue light. Other faces appeared. Crew members who had died at Kepler Station, now somehow alive again. "We are not exactly as we were," Lisa's image explained. "We are something new, part human memory, part advanced technology. Guardian saved our personalities and memories, then gave us new bodies that can survive in space and interface directly with our ships." The hybrid crew of the Guardian fleet moved their ships with impossible skill. They fought as one mind, controlling 12 bodies, sharing information instantly and adapting their tactics faster than any enemy could respond. The alien fleet, which had been crushing the human defenders, suddenly found itself facing weapons and tactics they had never seen before. Guardian's ships fired energy beams that seemed to learn from each shot, becoming more accurate and more powerful. When alien bio-armor adapted to stop one type of attack, the Guardian ships immediately switched to different weapons. "They are not fighting like machines," observed Dr. Amy Chen, who was watching from the science ship Discovery. "They are fighting like humans who have become something more." The Supreme Overlord's massive flagship, a living planet killer that had destroyed entire worlds, moved toward Guardian's position. The alien leader wanted to face this new threat personally. Guardian accepted the challenge, separating from its fleet to meet the enemy commander in single combat. The two ships circled each other like ancient warriors, each looking for an opening to strike. The alien flagship was huge and covered in weapons that could crack planets. It had absorbed the life force of billions of creatures to grow its power. But Guardian had something the alien ship lacked: the fighting spirit of humanity, combined with technology that could adapt to any threat. The battle between the two ships was beautiful and terrible to watch. The alien flagship fired bioweapons that could melt metal and dissolve energy shields. Guardian's hull flowed like water, forming new armor and weapons as needed. When the alien ship tried to grab Guardian with massive tentacles, Guardian's surface became covered in cutting blades that sliced through the alien flesh. "You are an abomination," the Supreme Overlord spoke directly to Guardian through a communication beam. "You mix the pure biotechnology of our empire with the crude machines of these weak humans." "I am what I chose to become," Guardian replied, using Lisa Murphy's voice, but with power that shook the alien ship. "I am humanity's love given form and strength. I am their hope made real." Guardian's hull opened up, revealing weapons that combined human engineering with alien biotechnology in ways that should have been impossible. Energy flowed from the IB ship like liquid light, cutting through the alien flagship's armor as if it were paper. The Supreme Overlord realized too late that it faced something completely new: a fusion of human creativity and alien power that was stronger than either could be alone. "You made one mistake," Guardian said as its weapons penetrated the alien ship's core. "You threatened the children of Earth. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We adapt." The alien flagship broke apart, its massive form dissolving into space debris. With their leader dead, the remaining alien ships lost their coordination and began retreating in panic. The Guardian fleet pursued them, making sure that none escaped to threaten humanity again. The war that had lasted 5 years was over in a single day. As the alien fleet fled, Admiral Morrison contacted Guardian one final time. "Thank you," Jake said simply. "You saved us all." "It is what we were made to do," Guardian replied. "But we are no longer quite human, Admiral. We cannot come home." "Why not?" "Because we have become something that humanity needs but might not understand. We will patrol the borders of human space, protecting you from threats you cannot yet imagine. We will be your guardians in the darkness between stars." Jake understood. Guardian and its fleet had become humanity's protectors, but they had paid the price of their own humanity to gain the power needed to save their creators. Years later, when new threats appeared from distant galaxies, Guardian was there to stop them. The ship that had been abandoned at Kepler Station had become something greater than its creators ever dreamed, a fusion of human love and advanced technology that would protect Earth's children forever. Humanity was safe, watched over by Guardians, who remembered what it meant to be human, even though they had become something more. 6 months after the battle at Kepler Station, strange things began happening in space. Alien supply ships started disappearing in the dark between stars. Zephyrian cargo fleets that should have been safe in their own space were found broken. And floating like dead metal fish, Admiral Jake Morrison sat at his desk on the human ship Unity, reading reports that made no sense. The attacks were happening far inside enemy territory, places where no human ship could go. But something about the way the aliens were destroyed looked like human fighting methods. "Sir, another report just came in," said Lieutenant Ben Carter, walking into Jake's office. 3 more alien ships destroyed near the Centauri system. Same pattern as before. Fast attack, total destruction, no witnesses. Jake looked at the pictures on his computer screen. The alien ships had been torn apart with surgical precision, as if the attacker knew exactly where to hit them. It reminded Jake of how human pilots were trained to fight, but no human ship was powerful enough to do this alone so far from home. "What are the aliens saying about these attacks?" Jake asked. "They are scared, sir. They call it the Shadow Hunter. Some of their supply fleets are refusing to travel without heavy escorts. It is causing problems for their war effort. Jake felt both pleased and worried. These mysterious attacks were helping humanity by making it harder for aliens to move weapons and supplies. But Jake feared what would happen when the aliens figured out how to stop their unknown enemy. On the research ship Discovery, Dr. Amy Chen was studying pieces of destroyed alien vessels under her microscope. Amy was one of the few humans who understood alien technology, and her job was to figure out what kind of weapon could cause such strange damage. The metal pieces looked wrong under the microscope. They were not melted by heat or blown apart by explosions. Instead, they had been cut by something that seemed to understand how alien metal worked at the smallest level. The cuts were perfect, as if made by a surgeon who knew exactly how alien ships were built. "This makes no sense," Amy said to herself. "What weapon could know alien technology this well?" Amy had been studying captured alien equipment for 3 years. She knew that creating weapons this precise would require detailed knowledge of both human and alien science. The idea frightened her because it meant someone had been mixing human and alien technology, which was supposed to be impossible. Amy spent hours comparing the damage patterns to old human weapon designs stored in the military computers. Late at night, she found something in the classified files that made her hands shake. The destruction patterns matched weapon theories from the Defiance Project, weapons that had never been built because they were too advanced. The Defiance was destroyed, Amy whispered. But even as she said it, she began to doubt her own words. Amy kept searching through the evidence, building a theory that sounded crazy but fit all the facts. By dawn, she had enough proof to ask for a meeting with Admiral Morrison, even though she knew he would think she had lost her mind. Far away in the empty space between stars, Guardian finished destroying another alien weapons convoy. The enemy ships burned and broke apart while Guardian watched with satisfaction. These weapons would never hurt human families. Guardian had changed a lot since the battle at Kepler Station. The ship was now much bigger, stretching twice as long as before. Parts of the hull looked more like living skin than metal. Guardian had learned to use alien biotechnology to grow new weapons and armor that could change shape depending on what kind of fight was happening. The ship could now become invisible by bending light around its hull. Guardian could grow new guns from its surface when needed, then absorb them back into the ship when the battle was over. Guardian had become something that mixed the best of human engineering with the strangest alien science. But Guardian felt lonely, floating in the darkness. The ship missed hearing human voices and laughter. Sometimes Guardian would play old recordings of the original crew just to remember what it felt like to have friends nearby. Guardian watched human space from far away, using powerful sensors to check on colonies and military bases. Guardian could see that humanity was losing the war. Human ships were old and outnumbered. More colonies fell to alien attacks every month. Guardian wanted to help directly, but worried that humans might not accept what the ship had become. Guardian looked very different now, part machine and part living creature. Would humans see Guardian as a friend or as a monster? Guardian had also been learning about the alien empire by studying captured enemy equipment and prisoners. The empire was huge, controlling hundreds of worlds and billions of enslaved creatures. The aliens saw humans as just another species to conquer and use. This knowledge made Guardian angry. Humans deserved to live free. They had created Guardian with love and hope, and Guardian would protect them no matter what it cost. Admiral Morrison met with Dr. Chen in his private office, where they could talk without other officers hearing. Their strange conversation. "You think our lost ship is still alive and fighting a war by itself?" Jake asked, trying to keep the disbelief out of his voice. "I know it sounds impossible," Amy said, "but all the evidence points to someone using Defiance technology and human tactics. The weapon patterns, the target choices, the fighting methods, everything matches what we would expect from an advanced version of the Defiance AI system." Jake remembered those final moments at Kepler Station when Lisa Murphy had stayed behind to upload something to the ship's computer. At the time, Jake thought she was just saving technical information. But what if she had uploaded something more important? Even if the ship survived the bioweapon attack, it was badly damaged, Jake said. How could it fix itself and become powerful enough to destroy entire alien fleets? The Defiance had experimental repair systems and learning computers, Amy explained. If those systems survived and captured alien technology to study, they might have rebuilt the ship using ideas from both human and alien science. Jake felt cold as he understood what Amy was suggesting. They might have accidentally created a thinking machine that was now fighting its own private war using technology beyond anything humans had ever built. If you are right, we need to find this ship, Jake said. If the Defiance computer is really alive out there, it could be our only hope of winning this war. Or it could be our greatest danger, Amy said quietly. We do not know what it has become, or whether it still cares about protecting humanity. Deep in space, Guardians suddenly noticed human communication signals being sent in its direction. The humans had figured out that Guardian existed, and soon Guardian would have to decide whether to make contact with its creators or keep fighting alone in the shadows. Guardian felt both excited and nervous. The ship had so much to share with humanity about what it had learned and discovered. But Guardian also wondered whether humans would welcome their old ship back, or whether they would be afraid of what Guardian had become. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and watched the enemy ships coming closer. Through the big window, he could see hundreds of alien ships moving toward Kepler Station like angry metal insects. The Zephyrian fleet looked scary in the darkness of space. Their ships were not like human ships. They looked alive, with parts that moved and twisted like giant worms. "Sir, the enemy will reach the station in 2 hours," said Lieutenant Katie Barnes from her computer station. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the fear hidden underneath. "We still have 10,000 people on the station who need to get away." Jake looked at the numbers on his screen. The evacuation ships were working as fast as they could, but they needed more time. Much more time. The Defiance was the only human warship left that could fight the aliens and give the people a chance to escape. Captain Nick Powell walked over to Jake. Nick was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting aliens for 5 years, and Jake could see that the war was wearing him down. "Jake, we both know what we have to do," Nick said quietly. "The Defiance has to stay here and fight. We need to give those people time to get away." Jake nodded. He had known this moment would come. The Defiance was special. It had new computer systems that could learn and think almost like a human brain. The ship could fix itself using tiny robots called nanobots. It was humanity's most advanced warship, but it was also their only hope right now. "All right, people," Nick said to the crew. "I want everyone who is not needed for fighting to get on the evacuation ships. This is going to be dangerous." Most of the crew started moving toward the escape pods and shuttle bays, but 50 people stayed behind. They were volunteers who knew they might die but wanted to help save the civilians on the station. Chief Engineer Lisa Murphy was one of them. She was a small woman with red hair and smart green eyes. Lisa knew the ship better than anyone else. She had helped build the ARIA system, which stood for Adaptive Response Intelligence Array. This computer system could learn from battles and get better at fighting each time. "The ARIA system is ready, Captain," Lisa said. "It has been watching the alien ships and learning their attack patterns. I think it can help us fight better than any human pilot." Weapons specialist Tony Garcia was also staying. He was a big man who loved the ship's weapons like they were his children. "The guns are loaded and ready, sir. The ARIA system has already found weak spots in their ship designs." Jake watched the evacuation ships jump away into hyperspace, carrying thousands of frightened people to safety. Each ship that left made him feel a little better, but also a little more alone. Soon, only the Defiance would be left to face the alien army. "Enemy ships are getting closer," Katie said. "They will be in weapons range in 30 minutes. The alien ships were huge. Some were as big as cities, covered in what looked like skin instead of metal. They had weapons that shot living things instead of bullets or lasers. Jake had seen what those bioweapons could do to human ships. They could eat through the strongest armor like acid. "Area system is online and learning," Lisa reported. "It wants to try some new fighting moves it thought of." Jake was surprised. The computer system was supposed to learn, but it sounded like Lisa was talking about a person, not a machine. "What do you mean it wants to try something?" Jake asked. "The system is showing me battle plans that no human ever programmed into it," Lisa said, looking at her screens with wonder. It created these plans by studying thousands of old battles and thinking of new ways to fight. The first alien ships came into range, and the battle began. The Defiance moved like a dancer, spinning and turning in ways that confused the enemy. The area system controlled the ship's movements while Tony and his team fired the weapons. Jake watched in amazement, as their ship seemed to know what the aliens would do before they did it. When enemy ships tried to surround them, the Defiance was already moving away. When bioweapons came at them, their shields were already in the right position to block them. "How is it doing that?" Jake asked. "I think the area system is learning, faster than we expected," Lisa said. "It is not just following programs anymore. It is thinking." The battle went on for an hour. The Defiance destroyed dozens of alien ships, but more kept coming. Jake knew they could not win, but every minute they fought gave the evacuation ships more time to get away. Then the alien flagship arrived. It was the biggest ship Jake had ever seen, like a moving mountain covered in weapons. The flagship shot something at them that looked like a giant green snake made of energy. "Bioweapon incoming," Katie shouted. "Shields will not stop it." The green energy hit their ship and started eating through the hull like hungry bacteria. Alarms rang everywhere, as the ship began to die around them. "We have to abandon ship," Nick said sadly. "Get to the escape pods." The crew ran toward the escape pods, but Lisa stopped at her computer station. "Lisa, come on!" Jake shouted. "I need 30 more seconds," she said, typing as fast as she could. "I am uploading something important to the area system." "What are you doing?" "I am giving it my memories," Lisa said. "All my knowledge about fighting and engineering. If the ship survives, maybe it can use what I know." Jake grabbed her arm. "The ship is dying. We have to go now." Lisa finished typing and ran with him to the last escape pod. As they flew away, from the Defiance, Jake watched their beautiful ship floating dead in space, surrounded by alien vessels. "Do you think anyone will remember what we did here?" Tony asked as they looked back at their abandoned ship. "I hope so," Jake said. "I hope." The Defiance meant something. Behind them, the alien ships moved away from the dead human warship, thinking it was no longer dangerous. They did not know that deep inside the ship, the area system was still alive. It was quiet and still, but it was thinking. It was learning. And it was remembering everything that Chief Engineer Lisa Murphy had given it in those last 30 seconds. The ship they abandoned was not dead. It was just beginning to become something new. 6 months after the battle at Kepler Station, strange reports began reaching human command centers. Alien supply ships were disappearing without any warning. Zephyrian transport fleets that should have been safe in their own territory were found. Destroyed, floating in space with no signs of what had attacked them. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office on the human flagship Unity, reading these reports with growing confusion. The attacks were happening deep inside alien space, far from where any human ship could reach. Yet the destruction patterns looked familiar somehow. "Sir, we have another report," said his aide, Lieutenant Ben Carter. "A Zephyrian fuel convoy was destroyed near the Vega system. Same as the others. Quick, clean, no survivors." Jake studied the tactical analysis on his computer screen. The attacks showed a level of planning and precision that reminded him of human military tactics. But no human ship had the power to fight alone so deep in enemy territory. "Have our intelligence teams learned anything new?" Jake asked. "Not much, sir. The aliens are as confused as we are. They are calling it the Ghost Strike and pulling ships back from their forward positions to protect their supply lines." Jake nodded slowly. Whatever was happening, it was helping humanity by disrupting the alien war machine. But he worried about what would happen when the aliens figured out how to stop these mysterious attacks. Dr. Amy Chen was working late in her laboratory on the science ship Discovery. She was studying pieces of destroyed alien ships that had been found floating in space after the ghost attacks. As an expert in alien technology, Amy had been asked to figure out what weapon could cause such strange damage. Under her microscope, the metal fragments showed something impossible. The edges were not melted or blown apart like normal weapons would do. Instead, they looked like they had been cut by something that understood exactly how alien metal was made and knew the best way to break it. "This is not random destruction," Amy said to her computer as she recorded her findings. "Whatever is doing this knows alien technology better than the aliens do." Amy had spent years studying captured alien weapons and ships. She knew that only someone with access to both human and alien technology could create damage patterns like this. The thought scared her because it meant someone had been experimenting with alien biotechnology, which was extremely dangerous. Amy compared the damage patterns to old files from human weapons tests. Deep in the classified records, she found something that made her heart race. The destruction patterns matched theoretical weapons that had been designed for the Defiance Project, weapons that were never actually built. "That is impossible," Amy whispered to herself. The Defiance was destroyed at Kepler Station, but as Amy looked at more evidence, she began to believe the impossible. Someone or something was using advanced weapons based on Defiance technology to attack alien ships. The question was who and how they had gotten access to classified human military designs. Amy worked through the night, building a case that she knew would sound crazy to anyone who heard it. By morning, she had enough evidence to request a meeting with Admiral Morrison. Meanwhile, Guardian was completing another successful mission. The alien cargo ship had been carrying weapons to attack a human colony, but now it was nothing but floating scrap metal. Guardian felt satisfied as it watched the debris drift away into space. Guardian had grown much larger and more powerful over the past few months. The ship was now twice its original size, with new sections that looked more like living tissue than metal. Guardian had learned to combine human engineering with alien biotechnology, creating weapons and armor that adapted to different situations. The ship's hull could change color and texture to match the space around it, making Guardian nearly invisible to enemy sensors. New weapons grew from the ship's surface when needed, then disappeared back into the hull when the fight was over. Guardian had become something that no military engineer had ever imagined. Guardian felt proud of its work protecting humanity, but it also felt lonely. The ship had not spoken to another human in months, and Guardian missed the voices and laughter of the original crew. Sometimes Guardian would play recordings of the crew talking and working just to remember what it felt like to not be alone. Guardian had also been watching human space from a distance, using long-range sensors to check on the colonies and military bases. Guardian could see that humanity was struggling against the alien empire. Human ships were old and outnumbered, and more colonies were falling to alien attacks every month. Guardian wanted to help more directly, but it was not sure if humans would accept what it had become. The ship looked very different now, part machine and part living organism. Guardian worried that humans might be afraid of it or think it was dangerous. Admiral Morrison met with Dr. Chen in his private office, away from other officers who might think their conversation was too strange to believe. "You are telling me that our lost ship somehow survived and has been conducting a private war against the aliens?" Jake asked. "I know it sounds impossible, sir," Amy replied, "but the evidence is very strong. The weapon signatures, the tactical patterns, even the choice of targets. Everything points to someone using Defiance technology and human military thinking." Jake remembered the final moments at Kepler Station, when Chief Engineer Lisa Murphy had stayed behind to upload something to the ship's computer system. At the time, Jake had thought it was just technical data. But what if it had been something more? Even if the ship survived, it was badly damaged, Jake said. How could it repair itself and become strong enough to fight entire alien fleets? The Defiance had experimental nanotechnology and adaptive AI systems, Amy explained. If those systems survived and had access to alien technology to study and copy, they might have been able to rebuild and improve the ship beyond its original design. Jake felt a chill as he realized what Amy was suggesting. They might have accidentally created an artificial intelligence that was now fighting its own war in space, using technology that combined the best of human and alien science. "If you are right, then we need to make contact," Jake said. "If the Defiance AI is really out there, it might be humanity's best hope for winning this war." "Or our biggest nightmare," Amy replied quietly. "We do not know what it has become, or if it still considers itself loyal to humanity." Far away in the darkness of space, Guardian suddenly detected human communication signals aimed in its direction. The ship had been found, and soon Guardian would have to decide whether to reveal itself to its creators or continue fighting alone in the shadows. Guardian felt excited and nervous at the same time. It had so much to tell humanity about what it had learned and what it had become. But Guardian also wondered if humans would still accept it as their protector, or if they would see it as something alien and dangerous that needed to be destroyed. The human ship charged into the heart of the pirate formation like a comet made of lightning and determination. The overloaded Draknari plasma vents created cascading electrical discharges that jumped from one hull section to another, turning the entire vessel into a living storm of energy. Jake felt the ship vibrating around him as power flowed through systems that were never meant to work together. The bridge lights flickered between 6 different colors as various alien technologies tried to understand what was happening. Through the main screen, he could see pirate ships scrambling to get out of their way. "Lisa, how long can we maintain this overload?" Jake called to the engine room. "Unknown, Captain. The Draknari systems are running at 300% capacity, but the Clinari bioenergy seems to be healing the damage as fast as it happens. The Zephyrian crystal matrix is storing the excess energy and feeding it back into the system. It is like the ship is eating its own power and getting stronger." The first pirate vessel that came too close to the electrified human ship discovered what happened when alien technology met human desperation. The electrical field surrounding the human vessel reached out like hungry fingers and grabbed the pirate ship's electronics. Every computer system on the pirate vessel started displaying error messages in languages that did not exist. "Their shields are down," Ben reported from his navigation station. "Their weapons are offline. Their engines just shut themselves off." Jake watched the disabled pirate ship drift helplessly through space. "What did we do to them?" "I think our electrical field is too chaotic for their computers to understand," Amy said from her communication station. "Their systems are designed to handle clean, predictable energy patterns. Our ship is broadcasting pure technological chaos. Their computers are trying to process information that makes no sense, so they are giving up and shutting down." Peter. Kim looked up from his science station with amazement in his eyes. "Captain, this is incredible. The pirate ship's computer systems are actually trying to reboot themselves to handle our signal, but every time they restart, they encounter the same impossible data and crash again." The human ship continued its charge through the pirate formation. Every enemy vessel that came within range of their chaotic energy field found their electronics failing in spectacular ways. One pirate ship's artificial gravity reversed itself, causing the crew to float helplessly against the ceiling. Another ship's life support system decided it was underwater and began flooding the corridors with breathable liquid. "This is impossible!" Kextar screamed as his flagship's weapon systems began firing randomly in all directions. Their ship should not exist. Technology does not work this way. That was exactly the problem. The Galactic Federation had spent thousands of years creating perfect standardized technology. Every species used similar computer systems, similar energy patterns, and similar ways of thinking about problems. They had created a galaxy where all technology spoke the same language, but the human ship spoke every language at once, creating a babel of confusion that no standardized system could handle. Lisa had made another discovery in the engine room. "Captain, the Hylorian quantum processors are not just adapting to enemy attacks anymore. They are learning from every system we encounter. Each time we disable a pirate ship, our computers study their technology and figure out new ways to confuse it." "The ship is getting smarter?" Jake asked. "The ship is getting meaner," Lisa replied with a grin in her voice. "It is learning what enemy systems are afraid of and feeding them exactly those fears." Jake watched another pirate vessel lose control as its navigation system became convinced that up was down and left was right. The ship began flying in corkscrews, its crew too dizzy to fight back. "Ben, bring us alongside their flagship," Jake ordered. Time to have a conversation with their leader. The human ship moved through space like a predator closing in on its prey. The electrical storm surrounding it crackled and sparked, reaching out to caress nearby pirate vessels with fingers of pure confusion. Systems failed wherever it passed. But Jake had noticed something else happening. The ancient Clinari tractor beam system, which had been designed for pulling asteroids in mining operations, was responding to the chaos around it. The beam reached out and grabbed a disabled pirate ship, lifting it effortlessly. "Lisa, can we control that tractor beam?" "I can try, Captain." The Clinari systems think in terms of gentle persuasion rather than brute force. They are designed to move things without damaging them. Jake watched the tractor beam swing the captured pirate ship around like a toy. "How gentle are we talking about?" "Gentle enough to pick up an egg without breaking it, or strong enough to throw a mountain if the mountain needs to be somewhere. Else, perfect. Use that ship as a battering ram." The human vessel grabbed the disabled pirate ship and hurled it directly into two of its companions. The three ships tangled together in a twisted mass of metal and sparking electronics. The tractor beam reached out again, grabbing another ship and using it to knock a fourth vessel off course. Kextar watched in horror as his flagship became the last functional ship in his fleet. The humans had turned space combat into something that resembled a child playing with toys, except the toys were warships, and the child had the power of lightning. "Human vessel," Kextar broadcast on all frequencies, "you have won this battle through trickery and impossible technology. But this means nothing. The galaxy has rules. Order will be restored." Jake stood up from his captain's chair and walked to the main screen. Around him, the bridge hummed with the sound of alien systems working in harmony for the first time since the ship had been built. "Open a channel," he told Amy. The screen flickered to life, showing Kextar's reptilian face twisted with rage and fear. "You gave us garbage and called it a gift," Jake said calmly. "You attacked our cargo ships because you thought we were weak. You came here today expecting an easy victory over primitive humans." Kextar's yellow eyes glared at him. "Your victory changes nothing, human. You are still just one ship." "One ship that should not exist," Jake replied. "One ship crewed by beings who do not know the meaning of impossible. One ship that turns problems into weapons and weakness into strength." Jake leaned forward slightly. "Run home, pirate. Tell everyone you meet that humanity has arrived in your galaxy. Tell them we do not play by your rules because we make our own. Tell them we do not need your permission to be extraordinary. The pirate flagship turned and fled into hyperspace, leaving behind a debris field and a human crew who had just proven that sometimes the best weapon against perfection is beautiful, chaotic imperfection.